Peace. Good afternoon. God bless. I'd like to welcome you back to another edition of the Foul Playland. As always, I am Sir Foul Player of Brooklyn, coming at you live from the East Coast of the United States, and things have gotten highly pressurized, even more so. If you guys don't know, the situation in the Middle East has now escalated. You have a retaliatory strike from the nation of Iran that was launched towards the U.S. base in Qatar, United States military base in Qatar, was the target of an Israeli missile strike. Iranian missile strike, just hours ago, if you will. There had been leading up to that. Qatar had closed its airspace earlier today, and I had known about the fact that there's a U.S. base in Qatar. I mean, that's public knowledge. I believe Trump visited that base when he went on his tour of the Arab nations about 2 or 3 months ago. Earlier today, though, Qatar had closed its airspace for any planes and whatnot, and I think their anticipation was that should Iran do a retaliatory strike, that the military base that was situated in Qatar would be a likely target, and it turns out that that was just the case. Now, I haven't heard anything regarding these missiles hitting their target, and if I had to guess, I have a 99% .9 sure that they won't hit its target. A lot of the clips that they're showing on TV, I'm going to show them now in a minute, on the regular news, are showing missiles in the air. They keep showing the same footage too. I mean, again, too, this is the fog of war, so you got to take everything right now with a grain of salt and try not to believe most of what you're seeing on TV, regardless, or do anything crazy because of. But a lot of the video that I've seen that they've shown on the news has been of a couple missiles in the air in a what looks like a Arab country. I don't know if that's missiles being launched from Iran or missiles entering into Qatar, which I'm pretty sure it's the latter, that it's footage from the targets being launched from Iran, and that those missiles probably got shot down nowhere near this U.S. base that's in Qatar. But nevertheless, in spite of the fact that I have my doubts that these missiles won't hit the target, this is still an escalation by retaliation, in spite of the fact that the U.S., yes, did hit them first with the B-2 bomber strike, in addition to the fact that they've been also receiving strikes from Israel. But this escalation that happened over the weekend by way of the U.S. hitting their bases and destroying them, it seems, was an escalation by the U.S., and it was answered by Iran this afternoon. I'm going to be showing some of the clips. But as far as I usually gauge how important things are, like whether they make their appearance on the breaking news, or they'll stop showing prices right and they'll interrupt that program to show the news. And just a couple minutes ago, every regular mainstream media channel had news stories of this strike, and now they're not showing anything on the regular news. So I'm gonna have to go to YouTube to show some of the clips. But this is the same. I'm gonna show you right now. This is the same clip that they've been showing over and over, and it looks like missiles in the air. Like again, I'm assuming that this is over and the nation that launched the missiles, rather than this being footage of them in Qatar, unless they're being shot over Qatar. I don't know. And that's because of the capabilities of the U.S. military, and Qatar, I'm pretty sure, is holding U.S. weaponry, being that they're the host nation of the U.S. base in Qatar. But the hope that everybody probably has is that, we don't want to see an escalation, especially if nobody was hurt here. This is some more footage. Earlier today, again, the Qatar had closed their airspace, and this is the nation of Qatar, and the Al UFD airbase is right there. Iran would be more to the right side of that map that they just showed, separated by a water. But more footage of, I don't know what this is. Just looks like stuff in the sky. I don't know why they're forming up like that. It's kind of strange. Anyhow, again, nobody wants to see an escalation of any variety, and I'm glad, in a sense, that Trump is the person in the office at this time, because I mean, this is a high stakes game of chess that's being played out on a world stage. Uh, the Beast 2 strikes that happened over the weekend were one thing I didn't mention about them after it happened, because I reported on them immediately after it happened, and I touched on them yesterday after I had a few hours to think about it. But in terms of the U.S. strike that happened in the nuclear bases over in Iran, there was no leakage, and usually there's a lot of leaks that happen when a plane like this is set to take off. If you guys remember, the Secretary of Defense, there was a leak that happened when they were striking the Houthis. Yet this, to me, like, as far as the Houthi strikes that we did early in the Trump presidency, were far less significant or far less important than this B-2 bomb strike that happened in the nuclear facility in Iran. But in the case of the B-2 bombing, it seemed as if this is probably, in terms of military strikes that have happened, one which I've seen the least leaks prior to it happening. There was no leaks whatsoever that the strike would be happening from the B-2 bombers on the Iranian nuclear facilities. And in terms of success in the militaristic capacity, it was successful. No leaks. Doesn't seem like a large civilian contingent was injured or struck in the B-2 bomb strike. This strike that now Iran has tried to launch, again, this is where's Qatar? I believe Iran's here. I think Qatar's to the left, but this strike, hopefully, it didn't hit anything, particularly personnel. I hope that no U.S. soldiers were injured, and I doubt that any of that has happened. A lot is unclear at this time, but if I had to bet on the capability of the U.S. military striking down a missile strike prior to it hitting its target in the Middle East, I would bet on the U.S. military's air defense capabilities rather than whatever Iran could throw at the base in Qatar, especially if we were expecting it. Again, they're showing the map of the region. Why so quick? But I don't want to see escalation. In the past, Iran was struck by Trump by way of a military strike, and this is the things that they're reporting now. Iran attacks by sleeper cells inside the U.S. if it was attacked, and that's DHS issues new bulletin warning of a heightened threat of environment. I don't know why they do that shit so quick, but that's from I'm watching the NBC News Now YouTube stream, because they stopped giving reports of the strike on the regular, like, CBS and NBC, which I was watching prior to making this video. But it doesn't seem much of significance, and I hope that. Oh, this is in Qatar, so I was mistaken. This is actually in Qatar where this video is taken from. I don't think this is the video I saw. The video I saw earlier that they were showing, you could see a sign of like an Arabic thing on the bottom part here, like a store sign or something. Maybe this is it. So in the past, Iran was the receiver of military strikes by way of the Trump administration when Trump was first in office. And he actually says the story. I'm pretty sure it was Iran in which he says that he had to strike a Iranian target or take out an Iranian target, but that Iran, behind the scenes, in a diplomatic sense, had told the Trump administration that they had to retaliate, but that they were going to hit nothing of significance. And I hope that this was what today is, like a strike that's not meaning to hit a target. The video that I just saw, though, I had been seeing all afternoon. I took a little walk prior to making the stream too, but I didn't know where that video was taken from. But I just now, while watching it, have seen that that was from the Qatar skies, or over the Qatar skies, and the missiles were actually launched from Iran to Qatar. So that's a little bit dangerous. They're just now saying DHS warns of cyber attacks by pro-Iranian groups. So again, also too, we're seeing the liberal left kind of take the grandstandy approach here over the weekend when discussing Trump. I've seen a lot of liberal left commentators begin to say that they're worried about the potential of sleeper cells in America, you know, about the fact that there's a large population of people here from other countries, and that one of them could potentially be a sleeper cell in America now that Trump has launched off this B2 nuclear facility strike over the weekend. But it's kind of like the both sides of their mouth ideology that the liberals or shit liberals have of late, in which they're pro unvetted immigration into America. They're also anti-Trump's policy of deportation. So in hoping that they would take a victory lap and have a talking point against Trump to say, well, you know, like Trump's this evil dictator type for striking Iran. Now they're worried that the potential for a sleeper cell in America by way of maybe an Iranian citizen an Iranian who entered into the country during the Biden presidency while America had its borders wide open for anybody to enter. Now they're worried about potentially a sleeper cell being in America now that the pressure has been lifted up in the Middle East by way of these countries striking each other and the U.S. joining the strikes against Iran. But regardless, I mean, I for one, personally, when this war set off, when the Israelis started striking Iran, and then the U.S. announced their support to continue to defend Israel. You know, it wasn't anything that was, the prospect of entering into a potential war was nothing that excited most people. And the fact that Trump struck a nuclear facility, in spite of the fact that, yes, most people would probably sleep better knowing that a country run by radical Muslims like Iran has lessened nuclear capabilities. In spite of the fact that a lot of people may want to take a "I told you so" victory lap, like, oh, you see, like, Trump now started this whole thing, um, and it's usually by shit-lib leftists at times, or most times, or leftist defenders, if you will. Now there's also, from these same crowds, the revelation, I guess, of the potential of foreigners being in America and doing harm to Americans by way of sleeper cells. Or so I mean, that's one thing to notice, and these are the things I kind of want to point out more so if I come on here daily. This is the kitten Grizzly. Say hi, Grizzly. He's nicer. He's the more domesticated one. The other one is still being rowdy. Say hi, Grizzly. Mm. Yeah. So I want to come on here on the daily, that just so I could discuss how people talk about these things too. I mean, because no doubt about it, the potential for a wide scale war has widely increased these last couple of days. But I want to try to be able to have a platform in which people could talk about these things, not in an asshole fashion or a team rooting fashion. But I mean, like, I could I see the potential of censorship maybe increasing with a war breaking out, or the potential of war breaking out? Absolutely. The first victim of war is censorship. Like, they begin to censor more during war scenarios, and I hate censorship of any variety. And that's one of my problems with the too, is that they're more the party of, especially of late, of censoring people, whether it's by way of don't even talk to that person, but also when they put the maneuvers, the mechanisms in place to try to silence you by way of big tech apparatuses. I'm never for these things, and the left of late have been the perpetrators of a lot of that. And I hope that in dangerous times like this, that we're able to talk about more things rather than less things. Look at the little grocery bird. Mm-mm. Is this cat not cute or what? These two cats that we actually caught in my back. One of two cats. I don't know where that other where his brother is. Look at him attacking me. How is this man gonna get domesticated? How is this man gonna get? Do you have hope? Is there hope to domesticate this little beast? Hmm. But yeah, I want to be able to talk about things, especially politics, and not be such a cornball crab about things. Like, I think my bigger problem with the left, or people that defend liberal talking points, is that not only do you have big tech censoring you in a not only um, these little shadowy groups try to dox you, or individuals try to dox you, but as far as regular people, you and I, we shouldn't limit ourselves as to what we talk to. And the liberal left, I mean, it's very commonplace for somebody who defends leftist talking points to damn right attack somebody because they're in their feelings. Look at this beast. Mm. He's really sweet, this cat, though. I was loving him up last night while I was stretching my back on the floor. Grizzly. The when we first found him, he was a lot more fat, and he would kick his brother's ass. But now, I don't know if there's something wrong with him. He's acting regular though, but he hasn't been putting on weight. His brother's becoming a little bit of a pot belly. Damn, where the hell is his brother? His brother hides a lot though. Still, let me see. Shut up. Shut up. Look, where is he? And look at his paws. How nice, humongous. He's a good boy. The one of the first cats that I put up for adoption. I mean, he was actually one of the first kittens that I was showing on this channel. If you guys look at my older content, his name was. Jeez, what the hell is his name? I'll think of it in a second, man. But the stupid bitch that I that fostered her afterwards, or that adopted him, um, let him outside, like as far as trying to make him an in and out cat because he wasn't behaving indoors, and he's missing. So I mean, I'm hoping that somebody adopted him. Or I'm telling myself somebody adopted him. But it's one of the hard things about doing the whole fostering cats and finding kittens or rescuing cats. And on top of that too, everybody's broke. So less and less people are adopting these little cute. Look at how cute. How could you not adopt this little thing? Tell me. Ask yourself that. With all that's happening in the world, you're gonna deny a little kitten like this? Anyhow, um, but going back to world news and censoring, and what we just had a conversation with a fantastic channel that I discovered recently. Sam, according to the number 2 Sam, and his name is Sam Winchester. If you guys subscribe to that brother as well, but he and I were talking about the censoring, and it's one of the things I hate the most. I hate limits into what I could say. I'd rather just be able to blurt things out, and if I am wrong, I'll reel myself in rather than some liberal asshole lunatic who finds it standard place to, yell and bemoan, and it's something that I don't think as Americans and as free people everywhere in the world should get used to, in a sense. I think that we should get out of being such crabs and having these dead wall conversations where things end with "it is what it is" or some stupid shit. I hate like that kind of talk in 2025. We're at the beginning of potentially World War III, and again, the first victim of the war is the censorship, or free speech is the first victim of the war. That's what I meant to say. Peace, Shannon Tryon. Thank you for coming through. I hope I didn't butcher your name. My brother Bruce, guys, boxing, jazz, and more. Oh, my big bro. Thank you for coming through. But going back to the conflict at hand, we are seeing some of the new ways in which wars are being fought. In terms of these drone strikes that are happening, the potential of the B-2 bomber flying such a large payload to a nuclear target undetected, the fact that you're seeing minimal leaks with the biggest military operation that has happened in the Trump administration, probably in both Trump administrations. Iran not going down without a fight. Yeah, I could see that as well. And that's unfortunate too. The leadership of Iran are not beloved by Iran as well. I actually had a yard sale too, and I met some people from my street who were also having a yard, and they were actually Iranian Christians. And I was talking to Sam Winchester earlier today, and he said his one of his good friends is also Iranian. But I was telling him that I've never met, even though I never met a ton of Iranians, but I never met one Iranian in the United States who was had anything good to say about the Iranian region. I mean, or the Iranian regime, the Ayatollah, if you will. They always shit on them. I've never met one Iranian in America that even had bad things to say about Israel. And honestly, I could find tons of people that have many bad things to say about them. And you don't even have to go to Arab countries. But Iranians, it seems like there was a guy in that they show, and he does like a just pesters people, I guess, in the Hollywood area. Like, and I think it's more because there's a high contingent of Israelis in that area. But he actually encountered, and he'll like say like free Palestine stuff, which again I don't want to give my opinion on any of that stuff because of censorship, of course. But um, he encountered an Iranian family, and one of them actually assaulted him. And when he was, I guess, talking bad about Israel, I think. But it surprises me, and it just made me think this afternoon that I've never met an Iranian in America who had good things to say about the Iranian regime, if you will. I'm sorry, let me read my comment. Do you think that there are any terrorist cells in the country that may retaliate? If I had to guess, I guarantee you that there are terrorist cells in America that have the capability of retaliating. I could almost guarantee that there's likely cells, terrorist cells in America right now that are planning on retaliating, like that have plans to retaliate. And that's the problem with the open borders that we allowed under the Biden administration. But again, I mean, I think that this is these are crazy conversations that we got to start having as human beings. And the Western world, if you want to say, like, should start having these conversations of what are the benefits of open borders? Right now, there are no benefits of open borders. Most of these Western countries have too many people in them as is, and they allow people into their countries by way of saying, like, guilt. Honestly, they try to guilt Western countries into taking these immigrant populations. And again, I'm from New York City, Brooklyn, New York City. I'm the victim of my hometown being wrecked by this recent wave of immigration. And there's a lot of God knows who's that entered into the country. Or like I could tell immigrants, or I could tell people from different countries very easily. And as far as Venezuelans, we never had many of them coming up until recently. But now I could tell Venezuelans very easily. But there's a lot of people that you can't even identify right now in New York. And that started happening kind of like 3 years ago. How can you blame Biden for Islamic terrorist cells? That's a good question. I only blame him in the sense that he allowed the people into this country that were unvetted, unchecked. Some of them could have been terrorists. In fact, they actually let in 11,888 known murderers, and many of them were multi-time murderers from other countries that we knew were murderers, and with Biden's asylum laws were allowed to enter into the country basically on a parolee status. A lot of those people that were coming into the country that were checked by ICE that were bad people were allowed into the country. But you also got to factor during Biden's presidency and his lax border, a lot of people that entered into the country maybe out in not in ICE checkpoints, in non-guarded border areas. What kind of weaponry may have entered into the country? I hope that's not the case. But in a sense, I look at the fact that now I know that Biden wasn't in control during his presidency, and there were a lot of unknown people that were using his auto pen signature to authorize a lot of these executive orders. And a lot of these executive orders, again, like in terms of migration with Biden's political stances during his over 40-year political career, never asked, Biden was never a pro open border immigration kind of politician. But when he entered into the White House, now there are reports that Biden, for the most part, was suffering through a early dementia or mental deterioration or mental cognition failings. These EOs that were signed off, one of which rescinding Trump's stay in Mexico policy, kind of allowed all these people to enter the country. So I now know that people were using Biden's signature without his authorization. If some of those people had bad intentions, and if the letting in of tons of unvetted people, mostly military age men, and I'm telling you from personal experience, my brother Bruce Gass, most of the military men, I'll put it like that, who knows what they get up to? I mean, like, some of those people that they let into the country, they could be 15, 16 years old, and if they're already militarized or radicalized, in addition to, these are dangerous people that could potentially be walking the American streets. And it only takes one or two assholes to, to ruin a good thing. Let me read some of the comments. I'm gonna take the kitty. Actually, let me show his cute face before I take him off the screen for a few seconds so I can read comments. And look at the paw. Look at the paw. That's the paw sandwich right there. Look at it. Sorry. Let me see. I'm gonna read some of the comments now. Thank you guys for coming through too. Iran's aren't border jumpers. How can you blame Biden for Islamic terror cells? Also too, Biden actually released, I believe, billions of dollars to the Iranian regime once he got into office. And Trump has alleged that Obama also enabled Iranian's regime when he was the president by way of giving them finances as well. So we'll see. I mean, it's still stuff that we're all sorting out. Iranians ain't border jumpers. I mean, but Iranians, if they were in Mexico or in South America during a time in which, again, the Biden regime's policies were allowing for open borders, they could, they wouldn't have to be border jumpers. They just walk into America. Trump's dummy dumb, and that's Benja. Oh no, okay. I want to show that comment. Thank you for coming through though, Benja. We way to ask the country if we want to be in a war again. Oh wait, he lied to us actually. What part did he lie about? I know he said that he was giving them 2 weeks to an additional 2 weeks, but that was lying to Iran, which I'm not. In hindsight, the B-2 strike against the nuclear facility already happened. Doesn't seem like there was a high civilian casualty from what I saw, or a large wreckage unnecessarily. I'm with it. I mean, I'm not too up in arms about it. I mean, in spite of the fact that I didn't want an escalation of any variety. So I don't agree with the escalation, but for right now, the U.S. struck a nuclear facility. Biden's gone. Time to tackle the problems with blaming him. It's like you said, it is what it is. I'm not satisfied with that. Yeah, no, I'm an anti it is what it is person. And if there's any phrase in the American or in the world language that I detest more than any, it's the phrase "it is what it is," and that just has nothing to do with this conversation. I just hate that phrase. But Biden is gone. But during the Biden presidency, in spite of the fact, because I hear this a lot now, in 2025, like a lot of people tell me, like, like, well, it's time to stop talking about Joe Biden. But I vividly remember all political discourse during the Biden presidency centered around Trump. So it's kind of unfair for like people that may defend liberal principles to tell me in 2025 that I shouldn't be talking about Joe Biden, because I'm living in the problems that Joe Biden left behind. I'm from New York City, but I live 10 miles from New York City today. And we here in my town in New Jersey, we have a large immigration problem too. Not like humongous. I live in the suburbs, but I mean, you'll never see anybody like when I first moved here like 5 years ago. You wouldn't see anybody really walking out and about. I was probably one of the only people that walks around in this neighborhood. Now it's commonplace for some little fucking Indian haired like brown dude to to fucking zip by in a little motor scooter with like a fat lady on his rear on his on the back seat with no helmet. Fucking but and again, I don't mind. I'm a Latin dude through and through too. It's not that I'm feel away about seeing Latinos like myself in my suburb now where I live, but I could definitely notice that I wouldn't see any foot traffic, and now I see these little motorbikes that have clogged up New York City traffic through and through. Now they're making their way to my little enclave of New Jersey, and that's a Biden problem. Like Trump didn't allow like that migrant wave to enter into America. Biden did. And again, the mainstream media, many people don't know that what happened at the border, and the mainstream media was making it seem as if that was some sort of conspiracy, and that the border was safer than it's ever been. And they only started saying that there was a border issue when Biden wanted the Republicans to sign off on a border bill that was basically still allowing at least 4,000 migrants in per day. I mean, I remember these things. Not ultra. I mean, I can't remember them categorically or in an encyclopedic fashion, but I do remember a lot of the talking points, if anything. We are not the world's policemen. No, I'm certainly not. I'm against also the world policing. I'm against American adventurism, especially on lands that don't actually touch the United States. I have a different opinion in regards to Canada, taking a good chunk of Mexico if we have to. Greenland, I'm with taking Greenland. I'm very, very pro snatching up Greenland. I think Trump should have done that already. I'm pro that kind of adventurism, but adventurism in the Middle East, absolutely not. 2001, it was soldiers and chasing terrorist cells. Now you got cyber hacking, drones, nukes, crazy felon president. Yeah, I mean, besides the last point, yeah, we're entering into a new kind of war too. Drone warfare. I mean, those drones probably cost a couple $1,000s, and I've seen them in the Russia-Ukrainian conflict going after like soldiers. Sometimes soldiers that are leaving the battlefield, like people that are trying to defect or not fight anymore, where they'll send them after their own soldiers, and it's real sad. It's the potential of 100 drones, I would argue, has more potential of damage than maybe even a jet, believe it or not. But 100 drones in a swarm could take out a jet, I think. And Trump released all the old AI wards from prisons in Syria. I don't know what the AI wards are though. Yeah, that's another thing I want to discuss too, is that Qatar was actually one of the nations, in addition to the newly minted president of Syria. Um, I think Qatar, Syria, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia had this meeting with the Arab nations when Trump first got in office a couple months ago. and they discussed Iran. It was actually one of the bigger topics in that meeting too. Besides business investment from Arab nations in America, Iran was a major topic. And Trump, to his defense, I mean, still yesterday he actually was still saying, putting out statements that he wants to make a deal with Iran. During the Biden presidency, Biden never reached out to Russia, and I thought that that was amateurish of him to do. You had to discuss topics with your enemies and hopefully not be enemies. And Joe Biden was opposed to doing that on the basis of that lame excuses like he won't discuss, oh, he shouldn't deal with Russia in general, like, or lame cop out reasons that the liberal left would employ for the Biden administration. Biden wasn't saying any real reasoning. Joe Biden was cooked. But Trump is still, in spite of all that's happened, making inroads to try to make a deal with Iran, at least on the surface. It was called and Trump released. It was called the JCPOA agreement. Trump tore it up, and this is what we are getting. You got a point there. I mean, but with what we have now, and going back to the Biden administration too, is that right now there's pretty much no agreement, and we don't know what Iran was up to. Iran, though, if they had the potential to make a nuclear weapon, I'm not sure. Maybe, maybe not. But the fact that they were threatening the U.S., and it's always used as a reason as to why the situation in the Middle East is so volatile. Iran is always up there as far as one of the nations that they say, well, this could be the threat. And Iran has never been shy about threatening the U.S. I mean, so ultimately, Trump took their piece off the board as far as nuclear, setting them back with their potential and nuclear. The billions of dollars we gave them was already their money that we had frozen. Yeah, I mean, we have Russia's money frozen as well, Bruce Gas. And if Iran is a regime that's not only mentioned by Republicans but liberals alike, as far as potentially being dangerous because of the radical Muslims that run the nation too. Why unfreeze their money? And supposedly that was the money that was utilized to pop off the October 7th attacks. I mean, it's been reported widely that, whether true or not, that the monies or the October 7th attacks were in part financed or enabled by Iran. Whether I believe that or not, I mean, that's up to you guys. Not contending that. But that money, those billions that the Biden administration unfroze for Iran, had to have helped the nuclear pursuits at a minimum. Let me see. New Jersey is filled with illegals. Oh, certainly so. Certainly, many illegals in New Jersey. But I'd rather be in New Jersey 100% more than still living in Brooklyn, New York. And I didn't feel that way not even 8 years ago. Like, I never thought I would leave Brooklyn, New York. And if you guys don't know, I mean, I lived in the same neighborhood my whole life. Sunset Park, Brooklyn. I only lived in 2 apartments within that same neighborhood on 2 different streets that are not too far from each other. Everybody I loved was in that little neighborhood. I loved Brooklyn. But I couldn't control gentrification, and I think that the cherry on top, the first was the migration into gentrification that happens. Gentrification ultimately doesn't happen just by way of yuppies, which I suffered through the yuppie liberal gentrification that started happening in the 2000s. But the migration wave of gentrification was far more unlivable, because like that first wave was Chinese, and they're not westernized. A lot of them pee on the street. It's very common for them to like hawk loogies. Like, a foot from like where you're walking, and you don't want to be getting into. I'm not, I'm definitely not a chump, but do I want to be like, trying to check people like in my 40s, like New Yorkers at that too? I mean, there's a lot of tough New Yorkers that don't look very tough, and I'm not here to be enforcing the standards that I used to have as a 19, 20-year old into my 40s, and then add to that there's more retarded MFers that were just allowed into New York by way of the Biden administration. Dumb policies. Yeah, I was just saying a story, Teddy Clay, regarding the Iranian family from my street that I met yesterday. But they were really nice people, and I mean they were 100% Americanized. But I haven't seen many Iranians. I have met Iranians though in America, and a lot of them are awesome, real awesome people, and a lot of them are very not radicalized and you know very American, if you will. They've been threatening the U.S. since '79. Yeah, definitely. And this guy, I think, became the president in '89. The current Ayatollah. He was and he's no different. I mean, I've heard many things about Iran. I mean, I wish I could have like an uncensored channel, like to kind of like give, and it makes a lot of sense. But I don't think Iran is how people make it. And I'm not just saying. I do think that they're a paper tiger in many senses, but I think that sometimes the anonymity that Israel supposedly has against Iran might be overblown, like by both sides, honestly. And more so, I'm not gonna say that it's overblown, but the fact that we're stuck in this vicious cycle of Americans having to pay for that conflict, in large part, of America potentially being engaged in that conflict. Generally, I mean, the money that gets thrown into that region, I mean, it's disgusting. And I don't know how you guys feel. I mean, I'm not doing terrible, but most Americans feel outright broke. I mean, broke to the core. I've never been a time. I mean, and again, the last person you're gonna hear bitching about being broke is so-called minorities, like myself, Puerto Rican dudes, black dudes, so-called black dudes. I mean, but I've gone to the supermarket lately, and all I see is minorities uh, bitching about the supermarket prices, and I couldn't agree more. It's not just supermarket prices that are more expensive. It's that everything sucks, and everything's way more expensive. Um, People feel more and more sequestered. People are living with far more people than they used to. I mean, when I first moved out of my house, I was 17, and I had a three-bedroom apartment, ill as hell, like in a brownstone, with me and one other dude, and we were both 17. Or 18. I'm sorry, but now, I mean, like that's like impossible. I mean, I was paying rent in Brooklyn, um, for a four-bedroom apartment. I think like $1,200, and that was not that long ago. That was in 2008. The apartment I had that was like before that was $700, and it was fly too. But now I'll have regular conversations with people that actually have money, like people with means, and some of those people have roommates, and not just in New York, here in New Jersey. Like the area where I live now, like the rent is probably doubled since I lived here, and I've been living here um 5 years. Like I always look at the rental rates in Brooklyn, all these areas, and the area in which I live now. But everything is through the roof. Everything is more pressurized now more than ever. I mean, like, and not just to allocate it to blame to one person or one party, But the fact that money gets thrown to these other regions, I mean, like Newark, New Jersey is not too far from my house right now, and there's bums living in the underpass in Newark, New Jersey. Every light you go on Route 21 in New Jersey that cuts right through the heart of Newark, every light you go to is bums, asking for money. And I'm not saying bums in the sense that I'm disparaging them, but that's just what we call them in the Northeast. But I rather give my money, American money, to American bums, even undeserving American bums. I rather give them a leg up, like to hell with all these other regions and giving them money and um, especially at this stage. I mean, like, and what I'm saying now is nothing revelatory or nothing you haven't heard anybody else say. But in 2025, I mean, especially now, I mean, like, there's a lot of people that are, that will debate against, like, potentially, like, let's say, like, saving money on life in general, taxes, or the cost of fuel. There's some people that root against that um, if it happens like under Trump, like just to have like a talking point. I mean, maybe that was acceptable in 2024, but I know in 2025, everybody and their mom seems as if they're downtrodden, and finances have a large part to do with that. Nobody got money. Um, so, I mean, if there's any times in which we should have honest conversations and not team rooting, as far as politics, especially, it's 2025 more than ever. You smell me? Look at this. Look at this. Even he agrees. Even he agrees with with the bean right there. Yeah. If you guys are responsible and want to adopt a beautiful kittens, I always have them. So let me know. And live in the North Jersey area, but you got to give me update checks too. I'm not giving out my kittens to assholes that are gonna lose them or riff about them knocking over a pen cap or some shit. Look at these little beauties. How can you adopt something like this and then return it? You there, Grizzly. Yeah, but with that, let me see if they're giving. I don't think anything has happened. If you guys have heard of any other escalations, I'm pretty sure I'd see it in the comments. I may come back on here if the Met game goes awry. I mean, the Mets are in a current losing spell. A lot of it, I feel, has correlated with the fact that they honored the pride flag at the Met game, and immediately after they sang the Star Spangled Banner and they showed the pride flag during the singing of the Star Spangled Banner, the Mets that very game with a brain fog that they haven't gotten over, and it's pretty much 8 games already. But again, I don't want to have a good talking point and slam dunk on libs or the pride flag in order to have a talking point. I rather the Mets be doing well. If the Mets went on a real type of winning streak, I'd be streaming less and less, to be frank. The Mets are much more important than geopolitics. But yeah, I mean, should the Mets do crappy when they play tonight, I'm gonna come back and live stream some more. Do I sound old for saying live stream? I don't know. I'm gonna come back to YouTube, but I hope that the Mets have a kick-ass game and I don't come back unless there's like some real Armageddon type stuff that pops off. Then I will come back. But with that, I hope you guys say bye to Grizzly. Look, say bye, Grizzly. I'm sorry for waking you up, Grizzly. I'm so sorry for waking you up. Look, you guys can get a little sneak peek of the back toes too. Let me see if I find this pain in the ass brother. Wolf. The non-domesticated one. I don't know if you guys. This is a kitten I used to show in other streams. Baby Webby. Her name is 11. Say hi. But look at how fat she got. That's what you call American fat cat food, carbohydrate. She's super sweet too. Look at those paws. Yeah, but I can't find the other stray kitten. Um, so you guys have to be. She's still a kitten too, though. Look how fat. This American woman. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Stay out this New York City heat. And with that, I'm out. Peace.